What did your crush do that absolutely killed your interest? Story 1. This was in college. We were acquaintances and had a few classes together. He was cute, funny, and I totally had a crush on him. He asked me out to dinner and a movie. At the restaurant, he ordered the most expensive things on the menu. Apps, drinks, lobster, and even dessert. When the bill came, he said, "You got this, right?" I was so embarrassed I paid. Then I said I would skip the movie because I wasn't feeling well, and he asked me to give him $20 for gas and for wasting his time. I didn't and just left. After that, he couldn't seem to understand why I didn't want to go out with him again. Story 2. I was giving her a place to sleep when she was feuding with her mother. After weeks of picking up after her, I dared to complain. She had a screaming fit, packed up her crap, and left. I was glad to be rid of her until later it got around to me that she was telling people on Facebook that I kicked her out for refusing to give me a blowjob. There's a lot I can forgive, but that was the first time I had ever had anyone just straight up make stuff up about me. Story 3. Bragged about drinking and driving. He told me that he and his friends have a Nothing Under 100 club where they drink and then drive on the interstate going 100 plus MP and have to send a full-length Snapchat video of the speedometer to each other. 2 of my friends had been killed by a drunk driver 3 months prior. Story 4. We went to Disneyland, where I had an annual pass with my friends and family for an event called Dapper Day, where you dress up in dapper clothing. So everything looks very old-timey. I had done it for years with my friends, and he wanted to come, and my mom and siblings were going for the first time too. I was really excited as it was the first time he had ever met my family. Well, we went on one ride with my family and my friends. And then he said, "Do you want to go on a ride, just me and you?" I thought we would come back and spend the rest of the day with them. But as soon as we were out of earshot, he was complaining about my family and how weird it was that they were there. And he wanted to do Disney with just me. But he had known they were coming, so I was confused. Then we went on one more ride and he started complaining about how hot it was, how tired he was, and before lunch he wanted to go home. I was super upset but didn't want him leaving on his own, so I just went with him. But on the way home, I wished I had just let him leave and I could have stayed with all the people I loved. It was the first time in years my sister and my mom had been to Disney, and I didn't know it then. But it was the last time I got to go with my brothers before they grew up, and now they hate me. He was just some dude I dated, not a boyfriend or anything that lasted very long. I'm still so mad at myself for letting him ruin my day. But yeah, it absolutely killed anything I felt for him, and we broke up a few days later. Story 5. I'm black. She's black. Our crush was mutual. Then she found out that I was once in a relationship with a white woman. She then jumped down a rabbit's hole of my betrayal of the black family and some other nonsense of my trauma of self-hatred. Never been turned off by anything faster than that. Story 6. We were teenagers. He lived in a different province, and we used to chat on Skype. He wanted me to think he was a badass or something and would always talk about his drug use. He ended up faking a heroin overdose when we were on chat together. I was hysterically crying and freaking out, thinking I was watching someone dying and was trying to figure out how to call 911 in another province when he snapped out of it and told me he was actually okay. I didn't talk to him much after that. Story 7. Huge crush on a fellow uni student. I was invited over for what I expected to be a platonic study date. But hey, any time spent is better than just being alone, or so I thought. Got there and found another student from class also. Okay, study group. Turns out her mom and her set us up for a full-press MLM pitch video literature, the works. I stayed a bit not to be rude, excused myself shortly, and only talked to her in class just in passing from then on. Huge letdown. Edit. MLM means multi-level marketing, also known as a pyramid scheme. Signing up to both buy and sell something while recruiting others to sell also. You get a % of all of your recruits' sales also. All the percentages basically flow upward. So the only way to make any significant money is to be high in the tree, towards the top of the pyramid. It's all bullshit. Basically, story 8. We worked together, and as I got to know him more, I learned he talked badly about everyone. Nurses that are amazing, he'd belittle. Talk about how certain people don't know what they're doing because they asked for an ultrasound IV as they were struggling getting a vein on a heroin addict. The paramedics were worthless. Doctors don't know what they're doing. Who he thought was hooking up, and it completely turned me off. He's in his early 40s and into gossip more than my teenage daughter. Story 9. He picked me up for our first date, and his car was disgusting. Not talking a few trash items, the entire back seat and floorboard was completely covered in piled up trash, even up front. I had to step on empty McDonald's bags, old soda bottles, wrappers, etc., to even get in. And all he said was, "Just move it around with your feet." No sorry or anything. Made me feel like trash too. Like, dang, couldn't even clean up a little. Story 10. He didn't believe in dinosaurs. One of those super religious types, and someone got into a conversation with him about dinosaurs, and he was absolutely convinced that dinosaur bones were put there by the devil to trick us. As a firm lover of dinosaurs, as soon as I heard that, any and all attraction disappeared. Story 11. She invited me over to her place, not as a date thing, but just to hang out as friends. Her house was absolutely filthy, and the glass of Coke she gave me had a hair in it. She was really cute, had a great personality, and was a genuinely nice person. But as soon as I saw cat shit on the floor near the front door and just dirty everything, my crush disappeared, and I left in a hurry. Story 12. In college, I was crazy about a girl named Megan. She was maybe 2 years younger than me. Blonde, life of the party type girl. Took her to dinner and chatted her up about her life. Got to talking about past and realized she had very little experience with meaningful, loving relationships. Romantically, it seemed she was on autopilot. In fact, the more we talked, the more obvious it became that she wasn't ready to love anyone but herself. Which, good for her. Self, love, and self-discovery are kind of big parts of going away to college and growing up. But I realized in that moment that what I wanted vs. what she wanted were miles apart. It was a crystallizing moment, and I felt the distance between us widen and watched her shrink away. Never asked her out again, and she never asked why. Either she felt it too, or autopilot just kicked in, or she just wasn't interested. Story 13. Wanted to look through my phone on our first date to make sure I wasn't talking to anyone else. That was our last date. Story 14. Girl in car behind him honked when the light turned green. He got out of the car and began screaming and banging on her windshield. That's when I knew he was a psycho and I needed to get out of that relationship. Took me a destroyed home and 2 restraining orders later. But we've been broken up for 3 years now. Story 15. Not crush, but most recent ex. I think I started to lose feelings when he would flat out not bother to hold a conversation with me. At dinner, in the car, anywhere. He also expressed mild disgust anytime I would be slightly outgoing, loud, or just myself. Yet claimed he cared about me and that I was kind, etc. I think he was just too introverted and logistical compared to myself. He also only ever played his music in the car, so I spent almost 2 years with an enormous lack of Led Zeppelin in my life, which was righteously uncool and ungroovy. Story 16. She asked if things didn't work out if I would mind if she went out with my roommate. I said I couldn't possibly do that to him and left. Story 17. She asked me if I was good with kids because she was pregnant with her ex, and she's not good with kids. It was the first date. Story 18. His sister actually approached me and let me know that he was once arrested for locking their other pregnant sister in their basement. Went on a coke binge while she desperately tried to get out, and went outside to beat their unsuspecting neighbor's van with a golf club. That was a big nope. Story 19. Had a crush on this girl back in high school. She seemed like a sweet girl. After she rejected me, I let it go but still was interested in maintaining some sort of friendship. Found out she was actually pretty toxic behind my back. She made fun of me for a lot of things that really didn't matter, like hand motions while talking. And I just lost interest in her entirely, even in a friendship. Story 20. When I was a teenager, we worked together as lifeguards. I adored him so much until one day he just starts talking about this random woman that he didn't know and wasn't even there. That was wearing shorts. He said he was fine until she sat down and had some cellulite on her thighs. And he kept being angry and talking about how she should be doing squats to be more appealing. Like, his rant was angry and long and no one was adding to his conversation. Just silence after that. I took off my rose-colored glasses and saw that he was, in fact, a huge douchebag. I'm kinda grateful he showed himself that way, 'cause I was really into him until then. Could have been a bad time for my teenage brain.